Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to my channel for another third-party unlicensed 1/6 scale figure unboxing and review video. Now today we are taking a look at none other than the WooToys Dr. Green, aka Bruce Banner, based off his appearance in Avengers Infinity War. Now this guy also, for some reason, comes with the Nano Gauntlet, which was seen in Avengers Endgame, but at that point in the MCU, Bruce Banner had transformed himself into Professor Hulk, so yes, technically it's not accurate for him to come with this accessory, but at the very least we have another Nano Gauntlet in 1/6 scale to display with our collections. Now I got mine from Comic Sanctorum. It's a new site that I've decided to start purchasing my third-party figures from. I have included the link down in the description below, but do bear in mind, this right here is a third-party unlicensed item. That means it's made by WooToys in an unofficial capacity. What we are going to do now though is get the box laying flat in the light box and do the unboxing. Here, of course, we have the box art for Bruce Banner. Right up here on the front, we do have this sort of stylized sketch-type image of the figure. On the side, an image of his head sculpt, and apparently he's saying WooToys, and on the back, that very same picture. Now, you can slide the front cover to get a sneak preview of the figure himself, but I'm pretty sure you'll want to see this guy out of the box just as much as I do. Now, Hot Toys did make their very own Bruce Banner figure as part of the Avengers 1 line, but unfortunately that guy is getting a little bit hard to come by, so I'm hoping that this will be a more up-to-date version of Bruce to have alongside your Avengers from Infinity War. And here we have him. First, in-hand impressions are relatively positive. I like the feel of the body in hand, feels like they haven't cheaped out, and I do like the head sculpt so far. Is it 100% perfect? Well, we'll discuss that in just a second. Now, as you can see, he does come with one tray, so what we are going to do now is get all of the accessories laid out in the light box and take a closer look at everything he comes with. Here we have all the bits and pieces that come with Dr. Green. Now, starting off with the display base first, it's nothing really to write home about, but it definitely gets the job done. It's one of those classic Hot Toys oval style display bases with a crotch grabber up on top. It's not super exciting, but at the very least we are getting a display base. Now, he does also come with this, which is technically a 1/6 scale Nano Gauntlet with the snapping gesture. Now, it's not painted all that well, it's a little bit muddy, and the silver kind of reads more like a pink than a silver, but the cool thing is you do get this little piece right here. When you push the button, it does light up, and then when you push it inside the hand itself, it illuminates most, if not all, of the stones. Unfortunately, the time stone, once again, just like with the Hot Toys gauntlets, doesn't really receive a ton of light, but at the very least, it's a cool effect and something they totally didn't need to include. Now, he also comes with two pieces that technically will be worn on him, the first of which being his glasses. There aren't any real lenses here, and they are fairly basic, just a straight up black frame, but I do like the way they look, and they are nice and thin, so they're not going to be overly chunky when you put them on his face. You also get this piece right here, which is of course his wristwatch. Nothing to write home about here either, but you will be able to use this to hide one of his wrist joints. Now, speaking of wrists, you do have some options of what to attach to them. You have some regular human hands and also these. Now, we'll start off with the regular hands first. They are relatively simple, but they are a nice sculpt and they are fully painted. Sometimes when we get third-party releases that are relatively simple like this, we get those awful, waxy, glossy, plasticky hands. They haven't done that here, so I do appreciate that. We also, however, get a full array of these hands, kind of like a transition between a human skin tone and the Hulk green. I think these are meant to represent him hulking out, so I do like that we are getting these. It's just that the green could potentially be a little bit more vibrant. It's too pale for me personally. I think we're also missing out on a gesture with a really angry grasping hand. We only get a simple array, closed fist hand, a gripping hand, and a trigger finger hand. So I do think that one final gesture would have been icing on the cake. At the very least though, you do get a ton of options. What we are going to do now though is get Dr. Green himself out here and take a closer look. Here we have him standing straight up and down in the light box, no crazy poses or accessories or anything like that. And so far, so good. I don't have a ton of experience with WooToys, so I didn't really know what to expect. The only other figures that I own from them are their third-party Stan Lee and the Bro Thor from Avengers Endgame. This guy is just a normal dude in a suit. But it's not just that, they've chosen a very unique style of body. Mark Ruffalo, when he plays Bruce Banner specifically, puts on this kind of hunch to make him look like he's not confident and he's second-guessing himself and he's not as strong and powerful as the Hulk. And they kind of have nailed that with the proportions here. We will discuss that a little bit more in just a second. Overall though, yeah, I'm fairly impressed with how this guy has turned out. What we are going to do now though is take him off the rotating turntable, punch in, and take a closer look at the details. And here we have him up close and personal. Now I didn't really know what to expect here. I can't honestly say that Bruce Banner was a figure that I personally was hankering for. Now I do own the original Avengers version and you will see a comparison in just a second, but I have to say this head sculpt from certain angles does look pretty impressive. From others though, yeah, it's not spot on. From front on, I can definitely see the likeness. From the side, I start to lose it a little bit, but it definitely is there. Now, removing the glasses, I do think helps the likeness just a little bit more. At the very least, it is painted and textured remarkably well. You can see the 5 o'clock shadow, the hair is done very nicely with some greys here and there, just showing some signs of age, and he even has some little crow's feet and wrinkles on his forehead. From a technical perspective, this sculpt is fairly decent, but in terms of likeness, I'd give it a 70 to 80%. Now, as I mentioned in the unboxing segment, the body feels very high quality. The neck is fully sculpted and painted. Sometimes with third-party figures, you don't get that. And even on the underside, his arms are fully sculpted and textured and painted as well. So if they are using an off-the-shelf body, it's a rather high-quality one. Now, he does have a rubbery style neck, so we'll see how that affects articulation in just a second. As for his outfit, he does have this really simple design to his suit. It's a grey charcoal style suit and a purple jumper on the underside. He does have a real working belt and he is wearing a padded fat suit. So it kind of gives him this stumpy, sort of interesting proportioned look. I can't say that it's super accurate to Mark Ruffalo, but if you are standing this guy up right alongside the Hulk and you have him sort of looking down at the nano gauntlet, I think it would work. It gives him this sort of interesting, slightly derpy looking physique, and for Bruce Banner, yeah, it totally works. The material of the suit is fantastic. It's a nice, lightweight material. It doesn't crease or wrinkle easily, and it works really nicely in 1/6 scale. Then when we get to the jumper, it's also a lightweight material, which kind of works to its detriment. If it was a little bit thicker, you wouldn't see the separation between the fat suit, as you can see the line right here, and also the belt, but when you close up the jacket, it kind of hides that just a little bit. Now, coming down to the pants, they are also quite ill-fitted. They sit quite low along the back, kind of just giving you the idea that, no, this guy isn't all up with these styles and fashions and trends. He's wearing a slightly too baggy off-the-rack suit, which again suits the character of Bruce Banner. As for his shoes, they are some black dress shoes and he is wearing socks, and he does have a little bit of dirt and grime on the front. That, though, I'm not sure I love. He doesn't really need to have dirt on the undersides of his shoes. It's not like he was running around in battle wearing a suit, so that I think is something they could have done away with, but at the very least they have added some paint down here, so I'm not mad at that. Overall, though, is this a figure that I'm loving so far? It would be a great alternative for me if I didn't have the Hot Toys Bruce Banner, but for now I'm not entirely sure how I feel about it. Now for a quick side-by-side comparison, here we have the WooToys Bruce Banner on the left and the Hot Toys version on the right. Now there is meant to be a significant time gap between these two appearances. Obviously the one on the right is from Avengers in 2012 and the one on the left is from Infinity War, so it makes sense that they look slightly different. And you are seeing a ton more age showing in the WooToys version than you do on the Hot Toys. We will punch in though in just a second to get a much closer look at the two head sculpts, but overall, yeah, I think if you don't have the Hot Toys version, this WooToys one might just be a good alternative for the shelf. Now for a much closer up comparison, here we have the two head sculpts. Now initially, if you just straight up asked me, I would have said this guy, the Hot Toys figure on the right, is my preferred. But now, seeing them side by side, I can very clearly see that there are pros and cons to both sculpts. At the very least, they are two completely different heads, and to me, that's a win. I like variety when it comes to 1/6 scale figures. As to which one I prefer, I'm actually leaning towards the WooToys one on the left here. I know it's definitely going to be down to personal preference, they are both great sculpts, but as I said just before, they both have their pros and they have their cons. Just going over articulation on Bruce Banner. Now bear in mind this is my personal copy of the figure, so I'm going to be a little bit more careful. I'm sure when you get yours in hand, you can push the joints slightly further than I'm willing to go. Now starting off with the head sculpt, you can see it is on a fixed neck. However, it still gets a fairly decent range of motion in pretty much all directions, and the neck itself is a separate rubbery piece to the hard plastic of the body, so you do get even more range. You get swivel and a ton of pivot side to side. The arms themselves will go out the full way. They will of course go forward and back, but he is wearing multiple layers, so it's a little bit stiff. You do have a butterfly joint at the shoulder, a swivel at the bicep, but you also have a swivel down here at the elbow, plus a single bend. You do also have a regular 1/6 scale joint for the wrist. Now the torso does have a padded fat suit underneath, so it's a little bit more restricted going forward and back, but you get some crunch, some swivel, and a teeny bit of pivot. The legs are unrestricted going forward, same thing for going out on soft ratchets, swivel at the thigh, a double bend at the knee, and of course a ball joint for the ankle. Just wrapping up on the WooToys Dr. Green figure. Now going into this, I wasn't all that hype. I mean, I already own the incredibly awesome Hot Toys Bruce Banner, and for me, that was more than enough for the display. But I am so glad that I decided to pick this guy up. He's truly awesome. It's a relatively simple figure when it comes to accessories and when it comes to the outfit, but still, he works. I love the head sculpt here. I wasn't entirely sold based off the promo pics, but now having this guy in hand, from most angles, I can definitely see the likeness to Mark Ruffalo. It's not perfect, mind you, but it is an unofficial product, so I am cutting it a little bit more slack. If this was coming from Hot Toys in 2021, I would expect way better, but for WooToys, I'm really impressed. This guy will totally be going in my display alongside the rest of the Avengers Infinity War figures. It's super simple, yet super effective, and it gets the job done. Where it starts to let me down though is of course in the accessories department. He comes with pretty much nothing, and the one key accessory he does come with, which is marketed on the front of the box, being the Nano Gauntlet, isn't all that fantastic, so that piece will definitely be staying inside the box. Now, if you are looking to get this, I got mine from Comic Sanctorum. Link for that is down in the description below. Now, just bear in mind, this is an unofficial product. That means it's done in an unlicensed capacity. This is not a promotional video, this is a review on a product that I picked up for my own personal collection. While you are down in the description, why not check out the link to 6 Scale Network, the awesome Facebook group. Come along, chat figures, share photos of your collection, and of course, see what's coming up next on the channel. Like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next video.